Everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Dear community members, we are excited that you could join our first cybersecurity and work from home event, which focuses us on how to be a good digital parent or leader program at your home, at school, or even within your community. Our children have an incredible opportunity to learn, create, and communicate through the use of technology. And it is important that parents and leaders are confident in their ability to ensure that our kids have a positive experience online. This program is designed to teach parents, it's designed to teach leaders, volunteers, and other caregivers on how to confidently navigate the web with their children and the people that are under their care. After our presentation, we will share with you all the resources and information you need to become a good digital parent. The aim of this event is to raise and empower parents and other caregivers by leaving everybody listening to this presentation with a greater awareness and confidence in the abilities to manage their digital lives, first of all, as well as that of their children in their care by, number one, understanding the risks, harms, and rewards of children's digital lives. And number two, learning about online protection strategies. How do we figure this out? What are the strategies out there that we can bring home in our daily lives? And then more importantly, confidently navigating the online world, especially with this pandemic and everybody working from home. All the kids are going, most of the school, although the kids are going back to school, but a good deal number of parents have devices that they've given to their words, to their kids, and it's really tough to manage all this. Thank you for volunteering your time to help protect children and paving the way for a safe and rewarding online experience. This event is brought to you by the Elevate Community Church. We are the North America campus of the Elevation Church in Nigeria, and my name is Olisa Udezwe. I'm an IT project manager and the CEO of Winning Rapport, which is a learning consultancy. We enable solutions for learning using technology. And moderating with me as my co-moderator is Udeme Aliyu. Udeme Aliyu is a cybersecurity professional with over 5 years of experience in cybersecurity, PCI, DSS, SOC 2 compliance, vulnerability management, and system administration. One of your panelists who will be breaking down this whole cybersecurity mystery, he'll be simplifying it in a different way. Ms. Tolu Osho, who is also a volunteer with the Elevate Community Church and is a solutions architect at CDW with over 13 years experience in the collaboration space. He currently helps organizations design solutions that meets their collaboration needs. In his past experience, he worked at Cisco as a product specialist, helping them to achieve growth in the sub-Saharan region. And our first presentation will be from Tolu Osho. And then subsequently, I will introduce our second panelist, who is another fantastic cybersecurity professional, who is also a volunteer with the Elevate Community Church. One thing holds us all in common. We're all volunteers. I lead up technology, and these are the guys that I always come to help with different aspects of technology in Elevate Community Church. Thank you very much. And on that note, I'm going to leave the presentation to start with Tolu. Tolu, thank you very much for having us. Thank you. Go ahead.
Definitely. Thank you, Oli, for the very great introduction, and welcome everyone to this webinar. I would just like to state for the record that I'm just the everyday guy with some level of knowledge regarding IT, right? But again, I'm going to help you understand the best way to navigate this period we found ourselves in, which appears is going to be with us for a significantly long time. especially the work from home aspect, right? How do we get the best out of working from home? How do we ensure that we do it in a safe way? And how do we ensure that we do it in a very efficient manner? I'm going to share my screen real quick so that we can get this going. So I'm going to be talking about the new realities of modern collaboration. One vocabulary or one phrase that has become very common to us is the new normal, right? And the new normal was brought about by the COVID-19 infection, and which has literally sent everyone back home for us to work from home. A lot of organizations have opened up back, but a lot more organizations have chosen to work from home till 2021, right? And that has really changed the landscape of how we work. Even post-COVID, there are a lot of movements within the tech space that work from home is going to be a significant component of our everyday life. Most organizations are touting, do we want to work 3 days from home, work 2 days from home? But definitely there will always be a component of us working from home going forward. And even, like I said, even when we return back to work, remote work would be a significant thing. Prior to COVID, a lot of people were working remotely. Someone like myself, I've been working remotely since 2018 or thereabout, and I would, if I remain in my current role, continue to work from home. As an employee or as a business, how do we ensure that we maintain the same level of productivity? As we all know, working from home comes with its various distractions, as it were, right? And even that, that being said, we also need to take into consideration of how do we ensure that we are engaged effectively, right, with our colleagues, and how do we do this in a very secured fashion or manner? So I'm in a space called collaboration, right? I'm in a space called collaboration, but however, in my own space, we still have to talk about security significantly, because in my space, we get to share a lot of information, we get to share documents back and forth. If you ever use any of the common collaboration tools in your daily life, like Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, Zoom, GoToMeeting, and so on and so forth, you would realize that during these meetings, there are a lot of sensitive information that are being discussed. We would also realize that during these meetings, during collaboration with colleagues, we share documents back and forth, right? I titled this specific slide, Disconnected but Connected, because we don't see ourselves anymore. Everyone is working from home. I don't see my colleagues like I used to. I was in the office a couple of days ago to pack my few belongings, and everywhere was just empty. Spaces that used to be buzzing are now empty. What I consider my office is the room that I'm presenting to you today from. What my wife considers our own office is our bedroom, right? The dynamics of everything are significantly changed. So how do we ensure that we remain connected and in today's world? A lot of organizations have moved very fast to roll out solutions like Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, and Zoom to take care of certain things. So I'm going to touch on the different, the different key points on this slide one at a time. So if I take calling, for example, how do we ensure that we can still reach out to our customers? How do we ensure that we can still reach out to our suppliers? And how do we ensure that we're even doing this in a very secure way, right? If you, again, most of the solutions I'm going to be talking about, they are not necessarily end user solutions. They are most of the time enterprise solutions. But most of the solutions on our laptops today, we would have either one or two applications that are helping us facilitate this process, right? I take my own as an example. I use Microsoft Teams every day to call my colleagues, to call my customers, and in some cases to call the partners that I deal with, right? I come to meetings, for example. For my meetings, I leverage on a solution like Cisco WebEx, or in some cases Microsoft Teams, or in some cases Zoom, to achieve the same thing. Now, in terms of using these solutions effectively, some of us might be running one or two of these apps concurrently at the same time. One of the things we fail to understand, or we might not understand, or we might not know, is that these apps are quite intensive. So if you're seeing me now, you would see a background of me that looks like I'm in a room. This is not what my room looks like. It's not that beautiful. If I dodge my head to one side, you would see a replica of me, which is because I'm using a picture taken in a while, which I think would be a nice background to cover everything that is happening within my room, and which is one of the ways we can actually mask our environment from the far end so that people would only see what we want them to see about our own room. Now, using the virtual background for a meeting experience, it's actually very processor intensive. So if you're leveraging a virtual background like myself in your own meetings, you have to take into consideration what is the processor capability of your PC or your laptop. If you have like 4 gig RAM, and maybe 1.9 gigahertz of speed and all of this technical stuff, and you want to do this, you might realize at the end of the day that, yes, of course, your virtual background would work. Your meeting experience might not be so great, even though you have a very good internet connection at home. And now this is me meeting from Zoom. Let's take, for example, that my company today has rolled out calling on Microsoft Teams. I'm running Microsoft Teams, I'm running Zoom. Let's say, for example, I join meetings with my customers on WebEx. That means I'm running 3 applications concurrently at the same time. And as we all know, to discharge our duties at work, there are different other enterprise apps that we might be signing on to. We have to take this really, really into consideration when we are opening up all of this. And for enterprise IT strategists that might be on this webinar, this is one of the things you have to take into consideration when you're rolling apps out to your users. For your communication needs, you want to try to identify one solution that can do everything for you. I know that in several situations you might say, oh, it might not be possible. However, it is very, very possible. Not to sell Microsoft Teams to anyone on this call, but Microsoft Teams is one of those solutions that makes it possible to have your meetings, to have your calling, to have your messaging, and even your project tracking and updates in a single platform. And the reason for that is Microsoft provides you with the calling capabilities, they provide you with meeting capabilities, they provide you with messaging capabilities in a single platform. Right? So talking about messaging is what we use on Teams. In some cases, we use Skype for Business. In some cases, for some organizations, they use WebEx Teams, right? Like I said, if you're running multiple apps to achieve this, there are chances there are that you're grossly utilizing your CPU, right? That would result in significant performance impact on your PC. So how do we ensure that we are connected with our colleagues? Within most of these apps, most of these Teams apps, like Microsoft Teams, WebEx Teams, they have channels that we can connect with our colleagues with, right? We can definitely leverage on that to establish communications or facilitate interactions with our own colleagues. Meeting is something that has also become very important. I've realized that the number of meetings that I attend in a day has gone on significantly. Reason for that is my one-on-one with my manager that used to be in the office has become remote. I have to attend that over Microsoft Teams or WebEx. And I know the same thing is what will be playing out in our own normal lives today. So video has also become very important, and it's become a very important component of our day-to-day lives, and which is why in some situations you want to ensure that you have a very good webcam for your meetings. You want to be in a room that is lit enough for people to see your face, and you also want to position your webcam in a way where people can see you very well. An investment in a very good headset would also go a very long way. I know that most organizations provide end users with headsets, but if that is not the case in your own situation, you can invest in solid headsets. They cost between 100 to 200 Canadian dollars, and the modern day headsets, they leverage on technologies like automatic noise cancellation and in some situations, noise blocking. That would help you meeting it. So I take a situation, for example, let's assume I have a puppy and my puppy strolls into my room and starts barking, right? Most headsets would try to suppress that type's noise because it is not a legible conversation. So going to the next slide, we're talking about securing your collaboration platform. So we've talked about collaborating from this platform. How do you secure this platform? I'm going to talk briefly about data loss protection and prevention, but I'm going to talk about it from the data security angle. Now, like I said, if you walk in an environment where you get to share sensitive information from time to time, especially again, if you're an enterprise IT strategist, or even if you own your own business and you share sensitive information from time to time, there are a lot of tools out there that you can leverage for data loss protection and prevention. What exactly is data loss protection? Data loss protection ensures that the information you're sharing from point A to point B arrives there unaltered and in a very secure manner, right? It ensures that sensitive data is not lost, it is not misused, or it is not shared with and by unauthorized users. If I take Microsoft Office 365 as an example, they have an advanced threat protection module that you can integrate with your communication platform that would help you take care of data loss protection. What it does basically is, if I'm collaborating with someone that is outside my organization, for example. So let me take a supply chain industry. Let's say I'm working for Leon's or Home Depot. I get a PO from a customer that I'm not supposed to share with my supplier, right? What data loss and protection does is, once you initiate the process to share that PO with the supplier, your data loss protection or prevention platform will block that communication, right? And in some cases, it can also flag that with your compliance team to report situations where anyone within your organization is not being compliant regarding certain policies. Another thing you can also do is, if you mistakenly share, and all of this can actually be built into your Office 365 platform like Microsoft Word, right? If you have a document that you share with someone that you don't want to be forwarded to someone else, you can also have that built into your Microsoft Word subscription. The other thing you can also do with applications like Adobe Reader, you can also invest in some sort of data loss protection if you don't want certain or sensitive data to be shared. The other thing is malware prevention. Now, if an hacker or a hacker, I don't know the nuances around the A or the N for that, wants to penetrate either your own personal information or your company's information, one of the ways they reach out to you is through email. Email is a means of communication, and there have been a lot of phishing attacks that have been perpetrated via emails. How can you be phished? You can be phished by someone asking you for sensitive information like your password, your login details. We can't stress that enough, that shouldn't be shared with people that shouldn't have it. In my organization, for example, I cannot even share my password with IT. It is not allowed, right? So we need to be very careful in situations where someone is reaching out to us, asking us to share such sensitive information with them. The other thing you could also do, again, this talks to the enterprise. This would be an enterprise solution where, again, with different advanced threat and protection solutions out there, you can have this integrated with your SharePoint Online or with anything you use for productivity. It could be G Suite, it could be Microsoft 365. Those are the very common ones. If you have an advanced threat protection solution integrated with it, they would regularly scan your emails. They would regularly scan your communication tools like Teams, Zoom, or WebEx to see if a link that is being shared, right, is contains malware, or if it is going to redirect you to a site that would potentially be unsafe for you to browse. And if that is the case, it's going to block that communication. Cisco has a solution called Umbrella, right? Umbrella is a very simple solution. It allows you to change your DNS to a DNS provided by Cisco, so that all your online interactions are closely monitored by a group of engineers called Talos, and they would ensure that any communication with any website you're going to is kind of secure. If for any reason that website is deemed unsafe, they would intercept that communication before anything, before you are able to establish a successful connection. And not just to re-emphasize it, a lot of companies have lost a lot, right? I take one incident that happened to the city of Baltimore. They had to pay close to $500,000 or thereabouts, or some amount of money in that range. Even the city of Burlington in Canada for ransomware, right? To get their files back from hackers on the internet. So this is something that we should take seriously. Definitely, our organizations should put plans in place for them to plans in place to mitigate risk like this. However, the onus is also on us as end users to ensure that we are aware of what is happening out there and take significant measures on our own side to protect the organizations we work for. I'm talking about tips and tricks for working from home. This is very generally available information. You can actually research this yourself. There are lots of tips and tricks out there. One of the things is investing in a quality webcam, right? You want to invest in a webcam that would not pass into your meeting a very choppy image of yourself. Whilst you also have this cameras, you also want to ensure that they are positioned properly. There are different ways you can position your webcam that it would not work very well, right? And if you are one of those users that leverages a PC that is closed, if you're leveraging your laptop's PC and it is closed, you also want to take into consideration to invest in an external camera. You also want to invest in a noise cancelling headset, right? So that the ambient noise within your room is not carried along into your meetings, right? Leverage background filters as much as possible. This helps to eliminate unwanted surprises. If someone walks into your room unannounced, right, a background filter would ensure that that person is filtered out, is filtered out of your meeting. And again, like I said, you don't want unwanted surprises in your meetings. Ensure that you're equipped with a very solid laptop with good CPU and GPU resources. Collaboration apps today are very, very processor intensive, and that is because they do a lot of coding and transcoding, leveraging the resources on your PC. They do a couple of encryption before communication is sent to the internet. All of this, they require significant processor resources to achieve them. You want to use corporate solutions wherever possible, right? If your office is using Zoom today, please stick with that, because IT would have taken that into consideration and ensure that significant security measures are put into the application in the backend to ensure that you have a very good experience. You also don't want to share your office meetings on managed platforms, right? If your meeting is not public, please don't share your meeting invites publicly. A lot of people that have been Zoom bombed in the past has been from a situation where someone has taken a very private meeting and shared it with people that are not supposed to be part of the meeting. One thing you can also do is if you're sending out a WebEx Zoom invite, you can say that only authenticated users can join, right? Anyone that is not authenticated will go into a lobby, and you can review people in the lobby and admit them. It is best for us to treat our meetings as if we're meeting in the office. If you reserve a room in the meeting and you have suppliers that don't belong to your organization meeting with you, they would be in a lobby and you would have to bring them into the meeting room. They don't just walk into the meeting. So let us take that sort of level of precaution and attach that level of importance to our online meetings too. You also want to make sure that you patch all software versions to the latest version, right? If your software, and it's very characteristic of the everyday user. Personally, I don't like to upgrade Windows on my laptop because it breaks something. However, the major ransomware attack that happened in, I think, 2015, between 2015 and 2019, I can't remember the specific year, right, was because someone did not update their Windows PC, right? And because of that, and because these ethical hackers, they think like end users, right? If you don't update your PCs regularly, they will try to look for a way to exploit you. So if your PC is not up to date, someone can send in a code or a malware or a Trojan, right, to execute some code. And once that is successful, then they can take over your PC, and from one single machine, right, they can infect every machine within your organization. So we need to be very careful of that. Also, even if you're using the likes of Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Cisco WebEx, there are vulnerabilities that this, apart from the fact that they roll out new capabilities, they also roll out updates to fix vulnerabilities within their solution. So we always want to look out for, is my meeting application up to date? Am I running the latest version? That is also very important, right?
A couple of questions have come in, and I just wanted to just chime in and ask a few of them. I know that as technical people, we assume that people know a lot of terms like malware, ransomware, vulnerability. But for the person that is just hearing those terms for the first time, can you explain what a ransomware is? For instance, you had referenced that the city of Burlington had experienced a ransomware attack. What does that look like in layman terms? How can somebody identify that, oh, it appears that I am, I have a ransomware situation going on my computer? What does that look like? And I have a second question, and maybe you can have those two together. I know you were talking about having a solid laptop with good CPU and GPU resources. And someone has a question here saying, what kind of specifications at the minimum would you recommend for a laptop or desktop for an end user?
Definitely. So I'll take the first question. So a ransomware, right, is basically a situation where someone runs a code on your PC, takes total control of your PC, and is asking you for money to unlock your PC for you. Okay, so a ransomware can come in different shapes or forms. So someone sends you a link. Someone says, someone sends you an email, for example, to say, this is IT. Click on this to reset your password because your password has expired. Now, I get such emails from time to time. The first thing I do is I try to respond to the email. When you respond to the email, it's going to expose. So what they do, for example, so someone can say itsecurity@microsoft.com. But that is not the email address. That is just the ID of the email address. And anyone can have that ID. What I do personally is I try to respond to the email. That would expose the original email that is coming from. If you don't recognize that email address, if it doesn't belong to your organization, you want to look out for misspellings and very absurd email addresses, right? If you don't recognize it, don't act on it. Now, let's assume that you see the email and you don't know what to do. You can also call your IT. Should I be receiving this kind of email, right? And they would help you understand, oh, this is not from us, don't click on it, right? Now, what happens when you click on that kind of link is there are two things. The link might redirect you to a website, right? Or the link might silently not do anything. However, in the back end, it would have introduced something like a Trojan into your PC. Now, with that PC, that Trojan, what it does after it's been executed on your PC is it calls home. And home will be any server that the hacker is running. Once it calls home, it tells the hacker that I've been able to find myself on this PC. I've found a home for myself. Then the hacker can now start working on your PC. There are different things they can do, right? They can leverage that single interaction to interact with all the PCs on your network and lock them down. Or if they know that this is the target PC they want to be on, they can lock that PC down. You would not be able to do anything, and they start asking you for a ransom. And that is what makes it a ransomware, right? So once an hacker takes over your PC and is asking you for money in return, right? That is something you call, that is ransom. I mean, again, that is when you've been in that situation. One quick fix, it doesn't solve your problem, is to find a way to disconnect that laptop and shut it off. If you shut it off, that hacker cannot connect to your PC again, right? But again, what you don't know is the level of information you've lost before you realize that something had happened to you. Okay, so that is basically ransomware in a nutshell. And again, we also want to be very careful of what we are clicking from any email. So I take my own personal email, for example, because I've subscribed to a lot of things in the past, and someone has sold my information, or an organization, or someone found my email out. They can send me anything. So we also have to be careful how we interact with email addresses we don't know. Like I said, if you get an email from itsecurity@microsoft.com and you don't know what to do, try to respond to it. It exposes the email and lets you know if this is a valid email or not. That is 1. 2, regarding the CPU, regarding the laptop requirements, to be honest with you, the modern day laptop will support your platform, whether it is WebEx, whether it is Zoom, it's going to support it as is. Most of these manufacturers, they recommend, they have a minimum recommendation. Yeah. However, the minimum recommendation would only cater for their own application. So if you were using a 4 gig RAM and a 2.5 gigahertz processor speed laptop, for example, and Zoom was the only thing you were running on it, it would run fine. However, when you start to run Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, Slack, and you start running all of these things. Sorry, my Google phone is responding. So once you start running all of this together, you have to do a summation of all of these things, which you can't possibly do yourself, to determine what the best would be. I always tell people it's safe if you have a Core i5 or Core i7 PC with 8 gig of RAM. That is a safe place, but most of those laptops don't come cheap. And that is why I said,
essentially, just to wrap that up, it looks like depending on your needs, depending on what you use your laptop for, that would determine what your specifications are. So whatever you recommend will not be a one size fits all. It will
definitely
be a person by person situation. Okay, thank you so much for your questions and for your presentation, Tolu. It has been
definitely
very insightful. Ollie will be introducing Mr. Segun Ojo Benjamin next. Thank you.
Ollie, you're on mute.
Hello, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tolu, for such an exciting presentation. I was just looking at people asking about ransomware and malware, and I think we really got everybody excited about that. And it's not just in the corporate world, it also happens with respect to our kids, where people chat with them on video games and ask them to send pictures of stuff that will get them into trouble in the future. So I think in that regards, we really need to understand that some of these challenges that Tolu mentioned are actually happening in our backyard as well with our kids. So again, this is why we're having this presentation. And on that note, I'll be introducing our second panelist. We just saved the best for last. Segun Ojo Benjamin is an information security leader with over 14 years hands-on and senior management experience in the design, implementation, and monitoring of information security, governance, risk, and compliance domains. Segun has proven abilities to lead and motivate teams with several organizational structures. He positively communicates security risks and requirements to senior executives. And his business acumen is quite unique with a combination of security, compliance, audit, operations, finance, and project management. As a change leader, Segun understands that what it means and what it takes to align security objectives with business needs and strategy and goals. And today, Segun is also responsible for the cybersecurity program at Torstar Corporation. And bringing it back home, Segun is also a volunteer with the Elevate Community Church and is a guy that I always go to whenever we have any IT challenges, looking at security, ADPR, and all those nice gizmos that we need to sort of keep in check, with church and data. And so if at Elevate Community Church, we have powerful people supporting us as volunteers in our back end, making sure that everybody's data is safe and making sure that we have a fortress as far as data and IT security is concerned. And on that note, I'll let us listen to Segun. Segun, is all yours. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Holly, and thanks to Lou for the nice presentation you had earlier. I will be talking more around cyber hygiene, and as we have heard, there has been several things that is happening now in this space. Oh, sorry, just a minute. Okay, yeah, there has been several changes that is happening now since the COVID. Many people have resulted in working from home, and it also brings on board many risks from a digital perspective. And before then, we also have children at home that are doing several things. Many homes are like cyber cafes now, where daddy has some devices, mommy has some devices, even the house itself has some devices connected to it. So, and the best type of security is actually that which does not have access. But how can we live in a world where we don't grant access to all these devices? So I will be talking about how best we can protect ourselves from a family perspective, right? So let me play just a video for you to see what cyber hygiene really looks like.
We find, die Wäsche fertig sein.
Okay, so you would see in that video that the kid had a wrong perception of cyber hygiene. It's not about washing your phone off in the sink or your laptop off in the sink or even staying away from devices. We are in a world where we just have to use one device or the other. So what does cyber hygiene mean? Cyber hygiene is like the way you protect yourself in the days of COVID, where you have to wash your hands, put on your masks, and then maintain 6 feet. But in the digital world, it's actually different, but it's not so far away from how we maintain the health of our computers and devices as well. So there are many benefits of adopting a cyber hygiene practice. So the first is it actually helps you to prevent funds and loss of data. There has been many people that has been phished. There are many people that have been scammed. And I wouldn't say because they didn't observe some cyber hygiene, because the threat we are facing every day is advancing, and they are re-engineering it. It also helps you to protect your identity. It helps to respond to cyberbullying. I have a good slide on this where we talk about cyberbullying for our kids. This is mostly now taught in schools. It also helps you to ensure the continuity of your service. Like Tolu said, the infection of ransomware would knock off your devices and also make you not be able to use it as at when you need it. It also helps you to see yourself as a good digital citizen, where you could take the learning length from your personal practice of cyber hygiene, and you could take it to work, and you could take it to places that you would need to protect yourself from, and things like that. So the first part is user and password management. Like I said earlier, the best security is the one without access, but we can't live in that world. So what are we to do in terms of protecting our user and password? So what is password? A password is a string of character. It is actually not a word, because if it were to be word, it would be very easy. And you will see why I mentioned it as a string of character that is used to grant access to data, systems, and services. And I'm sure every one of you have used password in a way or the other. So what are the best practice around password? You have to create a strong password, and there is a thin line between what is a strong password and what is a complex password. And as you think of this is things like donkey, strong enough, things like donkey 123, strong enough, or things like donkey 123 hash, strong enough. And the more complex your password is, the better for you be, because there are attack vectors that could easily predict what your password is. And since we are having a lot of processors now for our computing devices, it's very easy. So you have to ensure that you are using different combinations of password, words, numbers, and signs. But note that there are some sites these days that are not still requiring you to use some symbols. So you have to at least maintain the password length, like 8 or even more. So avoid bunching numbers and symbols together. The way algorithm works is that it actually looks at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first. So if you have a password that is sequential, it is very easy to hack. Now, stay clear from the obvious. Like, for instance, you may be living in let me say in Ottawa now, and you say Ottawa. So if I want to predict your password, I can first try, where is she or he living? And that's one of the things. And two-factor authentication, which is also known as multi-factor. This is when you use other devices or things that you don't know, but it's mostly what you have. There are 3 things in password: what you know, which is your password; what you have, which is like a token or like a phone, or like a card; and who you have, which is like your fingerprint that most of us use on our phone, and some other things. You also have to test your password, which is there are sites there that allows you to test your password. There are dumps of password it is actually close to billions of passwords now, or millions, hundreds of millions of passwords now that are out there. There are sites like Have I Been Pwned, where you could easily type your password in and it will tell you if it has been compromised. You could also type in your user account and it will tell you, it will list out where your user ID and your password have been compromised, and you can take steps to change your password. So you should refrain from dictionary words, things that are easy, and don't make your password too long. But you can consider passphrase like I love to eat dodo and plantain. Yes, it's a passphrase, and there are password fields that allow that lengthy password, and it becomes very difficult to crack too. So you should try to use different password on different accounts. Now that is very tricky because that opens the door for you to forget your password. So you should also try to use password managers. Like there are many browsers now that actually comes with password manager. I try to discourage the use of Google password manager because it is linked to the password to your laptop. So if someone has access to your laptop, they would also have access to your password manager on Google Chrome. So like for instance, if I use my official laptop at work for some transactions and I leave and I don't sign up of my Google Chrome, they would be able to see all my password. So you should ensure that a password manager that you would use also have a master password, which is like a single password that opens the door to the rest of the passwords. So avoid storing your password in terms of writing your password down or sticking it on the wall or on your computer and things like that. So we will move on to cyber home. So as I mentioned earlier, our homes are also connected to the internet. Like I was in Costco 2 days ago and I saw a fridge that has a screen, a very big screen, and it's connected to the internet, and you could browse, make shopping from it and things like that. So if you look at this chart, you will see that almost everywhere in this home has something connected to the internet, and it's called Internet of Things. It's called Internet of Things. So how can you protect your home? We have Google Home, right? Yeah. We have Alexa in our house. We also have Ring, doorbell. We have Nest camera. All these provides us the convenience and sense of security. Yes, it provides us the sense of security from a physical threat, but from a digital threat, how well are you prepared to handle this? So what should you be doing? You have to secure your wireless network. Most of us have a router from our ISP, which is like our provider like Dell. And we never tried to even log in to change the password, right? Though there are some providers that would reset the password back, but there are some Wi-Fi passwords that comes with it, and we don't even try to change it. And most of them are stuck at the back of the router. So if I have physical access to your router, I can easily see it and you use it. And some of them are actually not strong enough. So you should also enable automatic software updates. And that's similar to what Tolu said earlier, which would prevent vulnerabilities. And it's also like giving your devices food to eat. And change the default password. Do not log into your smart devices from shared public computers. Now, there are ways that you could set up your home routers such that you can log into your home from your office, from the train station, things like that, you have to minimize that or even desist from doing that. And prevent unwanted physical access to your smart devices that I've said, because there are some smart devices that stores your Wi-Fi password in plain text. So if you have access to it, you could actually retrieve the password, and consider to separate Wi-Fi network for your smart devices. Like in my home, I have two SSID, which is like a broadcast of your Wi-Fi. So there's one for general use and there's another one for my private use. So it helps me to separate access from that standpoint. Then you have to protect your own router. Do we have any questions so far, Udemy?
So yes, thank you. You have mentioned a lot of important points, and I know that when it comes to passwords in the cybersecurity community, there are people that are for or against passwords and are for passphrases, which was, like you said, I love dodo and plantain, for example. And I think the beautiful thing about passphrases is that people don't know that you can put, say, a space, saying I space love space dodo, and the space adds some complexity to it. You had mentioned something about enabling automatic software updates on our internet connected devices to avoid vulnerability. Like I said, we tech people assume that people know what a vulnerability is. Can you, in layman term, if someone hears a vulnerability, a software vulnerability, what does that mean?
Okay, let me cite a layman example of what vulnerability means. Like, for instance, you are allergic to dust, right? And you gallantly walk into a dusty environment. You would have allergic attack. That's for sure. So, and what do you need to do with vulnerabilities? When you want to walk into that environment, you would have to go with your allergy shot or pill, or you also cover your nose, or you even don't go there at all. So, and what you do to prevent that is you have to patch or update your system. I said earlier that the attackers are becoming advanced, as it is like a cat and rat race, where as you are trying to block one, they are coming up with the other one. And even the one you've blocked is opening up the door to another one. So that's like a layman example of what that means.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Shega. I have another question before you go into the mobile device security section. I know that most people that would have heard in the news about the CRA, where some people's CRA accounts were compromised. And it wasn't because attackers attacked the CRA website. It was that people that had used the same passwords for, say, their Yahoo, their Amazon, also had the same password for their CRA accounts. So malicious people logged into their CRA accounts and applied for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefits on their behalf, as though they had no jobs. How are they able? How can people secure themselves from not allowing that to happen? Because that was an issue with password reuse. How can people secure themselves? For example, I know that CRA has now introduced an option of having a PIN along with your password. But do you have any other tips for people to safeguard their password, their password, to encourage people to have different passwords and also safeguard their account online?
Okay, I found it very, very interesting that there are some services out there that are late to implement MFA. E.g., many of our bank accounts here does not have MFA, and CRA.
MFA, for the benefit of the audience, is multi-factor authentication.
Okay. Does not have a two-factor authentication. Right. So how can you prevent this? If you use Google Chrome anytime you use a compromised password, it will pop up and say that please check your password, that it's most likely compromised. If you drill further, it will tell you sites where the password has been compromised. So based on that, if you use that same password on other things, you should consider to change it. The other thing is also to have different password for different services. Like for instance, you should have a different password for your financial transaction, for your email, things like that. Don't use the same password across different services. And also take advantage of MFA or two-factor authentication where the service provides it. You also need to understand that like I will talk more on this when we get to privacy and identity theft.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Demi. So let's move on to mobile device security. Most of us have mobile devices. There's really no home that does not have mobile devices like phones, like laptop, like iPad and things like that. So how can we protect our mobile devices? So the first one is you should try to do some encryption at rest and in transit. And what do I mean? Encryption at rest means that if I get hold of your phone now that has an SD card, that's what you call a memory card. I can take out your memory card and plug it into mine and access your data. But if you do encryption on that, that means even if I take it out from your phone, I will not be able to access that data. And you should also consider encryption in transit. I will look at this for mobile apps. There are many mobile apps that you download from the marketplace that do not have strong encryption. And most of these have in-payment page where you provide your credit card or they will ask you to sign in, but there's really no encryption across them. So you have to pay more attention to all these things in terms of encryption at rest and transit. So how do you achieve this on your phone? When you enable PIN or password on your phone, it automatically encrypts your phone, but that does not encrypt your SD card. So you have to take an extra step to do that. So install endpoint detection and response tool. It's similar to antivirus, but it's more advanced than that. You need this kind of tools to prevent malware and ransomware, which was nicely defined by Tolu earlier. Then avoid use apps that are free of vulnerability. Now, there are many apps on the Play Store that are riddled with vulnerabilities. And how do you identify these? Even if you don't have an antivirus on your phone or your devices, you have to take extra steps to look at the number of downloads. Google provides this information where you would see 10 plus or 100 million plus, and that shows that the app is widely used. You should also take time to review the apps and also look at the publisher. Then you can also use your antivirus scan to scan the app before you install on your phone or on your laptop. Avoid in-app payment for untrusted app. There are many apps there that would ask you to pay and you put your credit card on it. Most of them are not encrypted. Most of the app could also be like a malicious app. There are many times that my antivirus tool blocks apps when I try to download stuff, and most of these apps have in-app payment page. So you also need to check permission. This is very key. we all download apps that ask for permission to our location, that ask for permission to our storage, that ask for permission to our emails, that ask for permission to our SMS, that have permission to our contact, mic, and camera. Do that app need those type of access? You have to ask yourself before you proceed. And if an app does not need access to mic or camera, why is it asking for it? And you need to make a decision. But one thing there that is very, very risky is an app asking for full access to notification. Those types of apps, you have to run away from them, because this is what happens. When you bank with MFA and there's an SMS sent to your phone, they have access to read the notifications that come through, and they can use that to perpetrate fraud, or they can use that for anything. So any app that asks for notification access, you have to look at it critically. Activate emergency SOS and scam alert on your phone. There is a threat called phishing, phishing, which is like voicemail type of phishing. And what this does is people call you and try to scam you, and people do this a lot. We actually receive calls like that. So what can you do to prevent this? Most of the phones now have scam alerts where you could activate this thing, and once a number comes in, it will identify it as a possible scam, and you should be prepared for it. I will talk more on that under the identity theft. And the activate emergency message. This is very key, and we should try to do this for our children who are using phones right now. Then the dangers of used phone. You should try not to buy used phone because of criminal history and things like that, and they may be rooted. And what rooting means that you have a phone where the component of the phone has been engineered to protect you from being from cyber attack. And when you root it, means that they've taken away that manufacturer protection, and anything can come in place. Avoid charging your phones or your laptop in public kiosks or charging station. This is kind of weird, but when I explain to you how this works, now you may have a phone, and most of these phones are charged through USB. There are some charging kiosks where you would put your phone in and they extract your data from it, because you've already granted access to it by plugging your device. So how can you prevent this? If you truly want to charge your phone in a public kiosk, switch it off. There is no way to attack something that is off. So you have to switch off your phone and charge your phone. And when you are done, take it off and put it on again. Then system updates, which is the same as vulnerability. Periodic backup of contacts. Now, many people have ransomware and they can't recover from it because there is no backup. So even our phone, there are times that we may mistakenly wipe out our phones, or maybe we have a black screen and we couldn't recover our phone. So it is best practice to always back up your contact details and data. You can use the cloud. Or then this last one is very important. When we take our phones to a repairer shop, they will ask for our PIN or our password, because they certainly need to test it after they fix it. But what do you do after you retrieve it? Do you change your PIN? And do you also go through the app to check if a malicious app or an unknown app has been installed. So these are hygiene checklists that you should do. Change your PIN once you take it back, and also go through the app and check if they've not installed a malicious app. Then public Wi-Fi. Well, it's free, but it also comes with a cost, right? And you have these public Wi-Fi's in shop, in Tim Hortons, in libraries, in airport. It's good because we don't have to pay for it, but you are paying in other ways. Now, the public Wi-Fi is public, but when you are browsing on it, it may not be encrypted. So you have to decide between an encrypted network and an encrypted website. So you may say, okay, I am only browsing on a website that has this lock and it's encrypted. But note that it's only encrypted for data it has received, not encrypted between you and the public Wi-Fi environment. Other users on that network can still see what you are doing on your laptop. So when on a public Wi-Fi, log in and send personal information only to websites you know are fully encrypted. Don't stay permanently signed in. Always sign out. Like if you use like a, how should I say, like a free desktop, and you sign into your mail, before you leave that point, always sign out. Even if you check your mail on friend's laptop or friend's phone, always sign out. Then many web browser alerts you for fraudulent websites. Yes, consider changing the setting on your mobile phone so it doesn't automatically connect to nearby Wi-Fi. Most of us don't do this, but you can go to your Wi-Fi setting and say prevent auto connection to public Wi-Fi or nearby Wi-Fi, because what this means is I can set up a Wi-Fi access point and I won't put a password on it, and if my signal is so strong, your phone will connect to it and you will be browsing, but I can also be seeing what you are doing, and I can infiltrate your phone through that. If you regularly access online accounts through public Wi-Fi, please use a VPN. I'm sure that most of us that are working from home now are very used to VPN, and we should also try to get VPN for our mobile phones. There are free VPNs out there, and most of the antivirus also comes with VPN. But if you don't have an antivirus, you can download VPNs like Proton, right? And you can use it and install a browser add-in that protects you. Now we are going to the section where we have to pay more attention to our children. Like children these days, as early as 4 years old, they are already swapping the tab. As early as 3, we expose them to online material. Now, the cybersecurity perspective for children, it's actually different from what I've been discussing in the past, because it involves a different threat, which is not really about an attacker, but it's more about a breach of trust from someone that they think they can entrust their information with, or they think is their friend. It is mostly someone that they interact with, or an environment they interact with and are familiar with. So that's why the Children Online Protection Program is quite different from all what I've said earlier. So let's go into it. What are the roles of parents in protecting the children from the cyber world? The first one is you have to be informed and up to date and alert. E.g., what type of games is being played now? Do you discuss what your children are doing on their phone? Are you familiar with the apps on their phone? Are you familiar with what they watch or how long they spend their time? And are you listening to news to also see what is the trend? You have to ask yourself, and you also need to know the tool, the risk, the rules, and the approach to it. You have to define rules for their use, and you have to have some tools that you would be able to use for parental controls. There are many free tools there, and many of them comes with a combo of all what I've discussed. Most of the antivirus tools now have anti-malware, have a VPN, and also have parental controls on them. And there are also some free ones on, Android, like Google Parent or Google Family Link. That's another thing that you can look at. Use online protection tool, as I've explained. Encourage critical thinking. You have to have a deep down discussion with your children when it comes to their activity on the internet. You have to play like a what if games, as in, what if someone sent you a mail, or someone sent you a chat that, where's your dad? What is your postal code? Where is your school? What will you do? You have to engage them in all this discussion so that you can better prepare them for what is out there. Set up your internet to be safe, which means you have to forbid adult sites, you have to forbid gaming sites, you have to forbid a profanity site. So you have to set up an allow list and a block list on your internet. Learn about their social network. You have to know what kind of app are there and what kind of friends they are making. So these are the things you need to know. Like for instance, I actually got to know about TikTok for the very first time for my daughter when she sent me a video, and I was asking, oh, where did she see this funny video from? And she said, oh, it's from TikTok. Then I knew I was late to the game. So I went and I read more about it, and we are on the same page as to what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. You also need to understand their games, and this is very important because most of the cyber bullying starts from games. And if you have children that are highly emotional, that are not used to losing, and you may find out that their addiction to games or their exposure to all these game sites are going to affect them, and they could feel they could withdraw themselves in. Like for instance, there was a day that I saw my son who crying, and he said he was playing a game and then someone took his pets, and I was like, oh, why? Then why are you crying? Let us go back in there and play the game and get back your pets. So, and he was able to get back his pets, and I was also able to see how the game works and what kind of security I need to put in. If you don't know, you cannot help. Then you also need to understand that most of these games comes with online violence, and this kind of affect them as well. You have to enable trust, you have to invest time, and you have to monitor and educate them. And as parents, we also need to practice what we preach. If you say it is not good to go to an adult site, you as parents don't be caught, or don't even try to go there, because we have to practice what we preach. So what are the golden rules for the children. You have to inform them not to share personal information with people that they don't know. And I will talk more on personal information. Once you post something online, it is there. There is this misconception that when I post and I delete, nobody can see it. There is nothing out there that is deleted in a digital space. Once it's there forever. Don't be deceived that your information has been deleted. In fact, they will go extra lengths to say, please confirm. Are you sure you want to confirm? Please confirm. There is nothing deleted. So encourage them to think twice before they post things. You also have to make sure that you have a very tight privacy setting put in place. They should never share their password with friends or stranger. However, there may be situations where they may share their password, but you have to let them identify the reason, the risk not to share. And even if they eventually do, they should change their password, and you have to guide them to how to change their password and how to set it up well. Only add people that you know to your network. If you don't know people, don't add them to your network. And you have to know their friends too. And very strict rule: don't meet anyone online physically. This is where most people fall prey. Like, this is also for adults. There was a story in the US where a pregnant person met an old woman who was promising her to, give her some clothes online, and she went to the old woman's house and she was killed. So when you meet people online, no matter how friendly they are, the way we portray ourselves online is surely different from the way we are physically. It's not the same, and you have to let them know this. Inform your parents if there's anything that would suggest you have to meet a friend or things like that, so your parents would know and they will be able to advise you properly. Not everyone is honest, that's for sure. And respect people. Don't use profanity words. Don't use curse words. And you have to understand that what you say online goes a long way into your future. Like, there are many people that have posted some nasty things in the past, and it's haunting them now because in the past they've made some comments, and now they are grown up, and those comments are dug up and presented to them and is causing a disadvantage in their life. So you have to inform them of this, and they should be polite to everyone. Only use the internet when you are around trusted adults. This may be difficult, but you should try to encourage them to browse. You should try to encourage them to use their devices in open space where you can see them. And even if they are in their rooms, you should occasionally check on them to be sure that they are doing the right thing. And these are the nightmares that parents have in terms of online addiction, sexting, cyberbullying, doxing, and cyber perfect. So we have to be aware of that. And social media, this goes for both, for adults and for children. Most people just create an account on social media, and they really don't know the privacy settings on the social media. You have to familiarize yourself. Okay, how can I block someone? How can I selectively post something? If I want to change my password, how can I change my password? You have to be familiar with the features that are available on each platform. You also need to be very aware that there is now a very thin line between your personal life and your employer, where most of the comments you make on social media can be used as a representation of you, not expressing the values of the company. So you have to be very careful. Even if you have an Instagram page for yourself and you are posting lots of things that are appropriate, someone somewhere can report you to your office and they may take disciplinary action against you. Because most of us should see ourselves as an ambassador of the community we live in. And we need to understand that acceptable use. Try to use strong password. We've talked on that. And federated service means when you use a password for different services, e.g., Google would ask you for a Gmail password, and Facebook will ask you and they will ask you that, do you want me to trust your login to Google or to Yahoo and things like that. You need to know that when you use those kind of federated services across different apps and different services, it becomes difficult to know where your data has been leaked or how to remediate cyber threat or attack from that point. I also talked earlier about the online purchase where I cited the example about that pregnant woman. You have to be careful about who you meet, where you meet them, and what you are meeting them for has to be very defined. Turn off location services. Most of us have these services put on, and I think Google is very bad with this. I will just pick my phone and go to my location services, and I will see it's been turned back on. And I keep wondering what's turning it back on. So I frequently check. There are many cases where you will take a picture and your geocode and your geolocation is tagged to the picture. And those things are actually used to solve crimes, but they are also exposing you to cyber threats, and also it's exposing the children as well, because they may send a photo of a shop that is not related to them, but the geotag is relating to them and could describe the environment where they are in. So marks your identity. You have to use a non-identifiable username, and you need to encourage the children to use same. Don't create an account without me knowing, and also don't create an account with your real name. You need to put that across. And how do you spot fake accounts? There are many fake accounts out there. You may look at the number of people they have on their connection, the number of posts, the number of retweets, and things like that. Most of these fake accounts, they are used to lure children and commit some cyberbullying and things like that. Let me quickly run through it and use your privacy setting well.
So just before you continue, there's been a ton of information in your slide. Even for me, for example, my kids are young and I did not know about Google Family until today. So it's been super informative. And I just wanted to add, I just wanted to point out that, when you raise the concern about location services being turned on Google, Google has attempted to be more responsible and give people the privilege of, securing their privacy. So there are settings like allow location turned on only when using this app. So instead of it just being allowed fully, you can always go to each of your apps and set them to only allow location only when using the app. Say for instance, for Uber is not going to work if your location is turned off. but you can say, when I launch Uber, you can turn on location for the purpose of this app. And then when I'm done, I don't need my location turned on. So I think that there are a lot of these hidden settings there, but like, there's so much information out there. I think this presentation has given us a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to say, okay, I think I want to explore this thing Segun has said. I think I want to explore what Tolu had shared in his presentation as well. So thank you very much for what you have shared so far.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have just 4 more slides, and I will try to run through it so that we can have some time for question. Privacy protection. Okay, can you keep my information secret? Ask yourself anytime you are providing information. And what's privacy? Data privacy focuses on the right of individual, what they collect about you and how they collect it. So this like a summary of what you should consider private, though there are more of it: your name, your address, your plate number, your birth date, your medical history, your email, yes, your mobile phone number, your face, your biometric, things like that, your social security number, or your SIM, as we know it here. So identity theft is when someone who is in possession of this information misuse it, right? And they may misuse it to leak the information to someone that would eventually use it to cause a greater harm, like a reputation damage or financial loss. So what should you do? 1, set up financial transaction alerts on your account. Now, you have a bank account. Do you get an alert for every transaction? Like, for instance, most of the banks have a notification page where you could say, I want to be notified either on email or on SMS for any transaction that is above $20. For every transaction that's above $100, and you receive that notification in near real time. So you would be well aware when something strange is going on on your account. Then check voicemails for confirmatory messages. This is very important because there are many times that our financial institution or maybe government agencies or private agencies want to reconfirm that fraudulent transaction, and they will leave a voicemail, but most of us may not check the voicemail, and you may be surprised that they may approve the transaction to go through. So always check your voice message and respond to such confirmatory messages, and sign up for identity theft protection. Most of these are, some of these are offered through credit card, through the credit card company. Some home insurance also provides a coverage for this. This is something that is good to have, right? Then sign up for credit monitoring. You may sign up monthly, or you can sign up and remove yourself just to check and also take yourself out. Then you also need to sign up for title insurance if you have a house, because I have seen and heard about people losing their mortgage as a result of identity theft. So lock your financial document and record in a safe place. You have to have a secure place in your house where you lock your financial documents and all your private record. Limit what you carry around. You need to pay attention as to, okay, do I need to go out with this document? Do I need to have this on me for this engagement, such that when you lose it, you will not need to go through the ordeal and the stress of trying to clean up your possible identity exposure? Then ask, every time someone asks you for what you've deemed personal or as a PII, which is a personally identifiable information, those charts I showed you earlier, you ask, why do you need it? Where is it going to be used? When are you going to use it, and how? And who? Ask all these questions, because at the end of the day, it's your information. The other thing here is shred it off. Most of us receive bills from post. Most of us receive our utility bills, our credit card bills, and we just ruffle it and throw it in the bin. Don't be surprised that some people still go through such things, those bins, mostly where you live in a condo where there are many people trying to access the same thing. You have to make sure that you tear it and do not make this available. You also need to protect your postal mail, and it's a stressful thing to lose one's identity. And yeah, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shego. It was such an informative presentation. If anyone has any questions, if you're connected on Zoom, please post your questions in the Q&A chat. And if you're on YouTube, please post it in the comment section so we can get some answers for you. But I think just to wrap up, there have been so many things that have been shared. You know, if I want to look at Mr. Tolu's presentation, you know, he talked about how the new normal has forced us to collaborate, you know, using online tools. A lot of people that are used to going into the office are forced to use collaboration tools, you know, in working with their colleagues and working with their managers and all of that. And, you know, doing that safely online has been extensively covered today. So thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Shego Ojo Benjamin. Thank you, Tolu Osha. Thank you for everyone who has taken their time to sign in today. Have a most wonderful evening.